going on, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome to The Drop, where I pretty much break down what new games are coming out over the course of the next week so that you guys know what's coming out just in case you do want to pick up something new. And this week, most notably, we have one of the biggest releases of, I would say, the late spring, early summer season in the form of Blizzard's Overwatch and a couple of other games that I picked out that I felt were worth mentioning. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. So first off, we have Total War Warhammer coming to the PC as a PC exclusive for the time being. I could potentially see this one coming to the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One later on down the line. However, because of the way the game plays and because it is pretty heavy on the keyboard and mouse kind of control scheme, I don't really see that being possible. I mean, it might work. We'll have to see how they do with the controls and whatnot. But pretty much, Total War games have always been in real settings, except they've been in the past. You know, it might be Total War Attila, for instance, was whenever Attila the Hun was, you know, a prominent figure in the world. However, Total War Warhammer is the Total War franchise's first venture into the fictional setting, and so far it looks like it's going pretty well if early reviews and early copies of the game are anything to show. So basically, Total War Warhammer combines the gameplay that Total War fans love with the world that Warhammer fans love, and somehow it comes together to look pretty cool. I've been watching a couple of streams of this, and I have to admit that the game itself does look beautiful, and I like the kind of art style and the kind of atmosphere that it does set. So you might want to check it out before you buy it, just in case you want to make sure it is your kind of thing, but it certainly looks to be pretty cool. However, the gameplay itself, you pretty much command 4 different races in war as one of 8 legendary lords, and you arm your forces and control them while they pummel enemies on flying griffins, defend attacking monsters, and fight to the death for their liege. That's the kind of little write-up that I wrote up whenever I was reading about Total War Warhammer. When it comes down to it, if I'm being truthful, Total War is not my kind of thing whatsoever. Strategy games, turn-based strategy games at that, just don't really tickle my fancy, so to speak. However, there are a lot of people out there that really enjoyed, including some of my closest friends, so it's definitely got a big crowd and a big fan base to build off of, and I feel like Total War Warhammer is going to reach out to those Warhammer fans that might not have ever experienced Total War but still want to see what the game has to offer. This is going to be a really interesting one. I feel like it's going to have a huge cult following going forward after that initial boost of people coming into the game dies down whenever it first releases, but it is definitely going to be a cool looking game, and I'll at least watch a couple of streams of it. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in, you want to check out Total War Warhammer coming on the PC exclusively this week. So next up, we have a game that I was kind of contemplating not really mentioning. However, because of what I heard about the development cycle of the game, I felt like it was at least worth talking about here on The Drop, and that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutants in Manhattan for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. So this game is being developed by the guys that made The Legend of Korra and Transformers Devastation, but pretty much it follows the story of the 4 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which are Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, and Raphael. They never really were my thing as a kid, so I don't really know that much about them. Don't judge me that hard. But it is a cel-shaded kind of style, which I do appreciate, especially in this kind of game, which is a hack-and-slash adventure, so it should complement that pretty well. But each turtle has their own fighting style, so you can switch between turtles at will in single-player and get a different kind of experience with each, and of course, each has their own special ability, so that keeps the gameplay kind of fresh, and if you get bored playing as one, you can easily switch to the other, and of course, there's also that co-op option if you each wanted to play as an individual turtle, so that's a pretty cool feature to include in the game, I suppose. Now, to be honest with you, like I said, I'm more impressed with the development cycle of this game than I am with the actual game itself. So the team has been watching the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle animated series from back in the day and played old Super Famicom Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games to better understand the universe and get a grasp of what they were actually playing with. So if you were expecting to see some kind of weird spin-off franchise just because there's a new movie coming out, that's not what this game is at all. It looks to be an actual new TMNT game that's inspired from the original content that made the franchise and the series and the Turtles popular in general. Now, one thing that always bothers me whenever it comes to these little spin-off games of big-name franchises, including, you know, Superman and Iron Man and Spider-Man, and pretty much stuff that's on this equivalent level of TMNT in the comic book universe, which, you know, judge that as you will, I know you will, it seems like they always kind of put writing to the back burner. It's never the best writing. However, with this one, Mutants in Manhattan, it does seem to be a little bit different because they recruited Tom Waltz, who's actually one of the original writers from back in the comic books, to write this entire game. So if you're looking for something that's really devoted to the original universe, this is definitely a game that is going to fulfill that need. Now, of course, as someone who looks at games very objectively and sees a TMNT game coming out in 2016, even though there is a new movie coming out, whenever it comes down to the hardcore gaming audience, my instincts say this isn't going to do well. However, after reading a lot about the game, watching some gameplay, seeing how it actually works, I feel like this is actually going to be a pretty awesome game. I'm not going to go out and buy it on day one, and I'm probably not going to buy it just because I'm not that big of a TMNT fan. However, for those that are into that universe, for those that go and see the movie and want to learn more about the Turtles and what their backstory is and stuff like that, that's where this game is really going to shine. And for those that are worried about a recycled kind of story, you don't have to worry with this one, because this is an original story for this game, so it's not going to be based off of the movie, it's not going to be based off directly of the comic book series anyway. It's just going to be a TMNT game, which is not something I actually expected, but it is something that's coming out on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC this week. So last but not least, we have our headliner of the week, which is Overwatch, coming to the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and the PC, being developed by Blizzard Entertainment. And this is by far one of the biggest and most notable first-person shooters of the entirety of 2016, and I personally wouldn't be surprised to see it nominated for Game of the Year, or if not that, at least the first-person shooter Game of the Year. So for those that aren't familiar with Overwatch, or maybe you didn't play the beta, or you didn't watch any gameplay, or perhaps you've been under a rock, Overwatch is an arena first-person shooter that's been in development by Blizzard for the past couple of years, and it's their first venturing into the first-person shooter genre, and it does seem to be going fairly well if the beta is anything to go off of, and the beta was literally the entire game. It's what you were getting on day one, so they allowed everyone to try out the game before they bought it, and a lot of people really thought this was a great game, including myself. So now within the game there are 21 characters, each with special abilities and ultimate abilities and weapons, and that's where your gameplay really comes from. It completely changes the experience with each individual character, because each character has a completely different style of gameplay, and that's something that's really impressive, because you can try out each of these 21 characters and get a different and unique experience each time, which is definitely going to add to the level of replayability going forward. Whenever this game is, say, 3 months old, 6 months old, 9 months old, even a year old, you can switch around and play different characters and get a different kind of experience to keep things fresh. Now, these 21 characters are divided up into 4 different class types, including offense, defense, tank, and support character types, and what I really appreciated about Overwatch is that whenever you're selecting these characters and you're choosing if you want to play as offense, defense, tank, or support, it tells you when the team is unbalanced, and whenever you need to add, say, more offensive characters, more defensive characters, it lets you know where your team is lacking, so that even though you might be playing with people that are completely and totally random and you're just in a matchmaking game, you can still have some kind of level of teamwork whenever you're playing, which Overwatch is a very teamwork heavy kind of game. So now at launch you're going to have 12 maps, and more are going to be coming with time, in addition to more characters, because Blizzard supports their games endlessly. It's going to be awesome to see where they take Overwatch over the course of the next, I would say, half a year, maybe even a year, and maybe even going forward, because I could see this game getting big with the tournament scene. However, the 12 maps at launch are divided into 4 groups of 3, and each of these groups is corresponding to one of the 4 game types that is going to be included at launch, and these are some pretty cool but basic game types. You have Assault, which is pretty much where you fight to capture objectives. You have Escort, which is where you escort a floating payload to a delivery point and defend it from attackers, which is what I primarily played in the beta. Really enjoyed it. Then you have Control, which is pretty much glorified King of the Hill, and then you have Assault/Escort, which is a combination of the 2 game modes. You know, who would have thought? But attackers capture the payload and then escort the payload to its destination, and each of these is really fun. However, I found myself really enthralled with Assault/Escort and Escort the most, because it has a little bit more of an objective than just killing other players and capturing objectives. It seems to be really fun. It's not just a standard domination, it's not just your standard, you know, team deathmatch. It actually has some skill that's involved, and that's something that's pretty cool. So when it comes down to it, is Overwatch actually fun? Absolutely. I enjoyed every second I was playing the beta. The colors pop, the game looks beautiful, the gameplay is fun, it's simple enough to pick up and play, but it's also complex enough to keep you enthralled for a long period of time. It's one of the games that I feel is going to be a really standout title for the entirety of 2016, and I really think you guys should check it out. Am I going to be buying it on day one? No, because of the amount of money that I've been spending over the course of the past couple of weeks upgrading the camera, you know, getting a couple of other things here and there, and I had to buy a battery for my car, which is on the vlogging channel. Check it out in the description box down below. But yeah, it's a great game. You should definitely look at some gameplay before you buy it, but it is going to be, like I said, one of the standout titles of 2016, and I can't wait to see where the game goes throughout the course of its life cycle, however long that may be. So there you guys have it. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, drop me a like down below and share this video so that other people can find my channel. And if you yourself happen to be new to the channel and you've never seen any of my other videos, I do upload new stuff like 3 or 4 days a week depending on the week. So there's always something new right here on the channel when you drop by to watch some videos. And as always, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for watching this particular video. I'll talk to you soon. Peace, and have a great rest of the week.